Good afternoon to all. My dear Reverend Father Jacob the Keparambil, Reverend Dr. Jean Paul Sheila, my dear fathers, sisters, and invited participants, teachers, and students. I don't lose much time, directly turn to my duty. I am here to introduce two eminent personalities in Syriac world. Father Jacob the Keparambil, Malfono Rabo Ito Suryoyo. That is his title given by Malangara Church, the great Malpan of the Syriac Church. He is my beloved Malpan. When I joined Syri to do my MA course in Syriac, he warmly welcomed me, and he was the force and inspiration to do much research and study in Syriac and love it. Father Jacob, he is equal to Syriac. He speaks Syriac and he speaks about Syriac. He lives in Syriac. He loves Syriac. He speaks about Syriac to anybody who meets. One day I went to Syria with a friend who is not at all connected with this field. But after 10 minutes, Father Jacob told, come and study in Syria for 2 months. That is his attitude towards Syriac, inviting everybody to that rich source of our church and culture. Father Jacob, he did his doctorate in Paris Catholic University, France, and he is a founder director of Center for Ecumenical Research Institute, Syri in Kottayam, which is the only one Syriac institute recognized by government as well as the church. Father Jacob, he is much above the descriptions. His life and his studies, his approaches, always encouraging approaches that we can experience when we are in Syria. His concern for his students and his collaborators. And many of the Syria scholars, present non-Syria scholars, were brought up by Father Jacob through Syria. So I am very happy and proud of to introduce and welcome my Malfon or Rabo, Father Jacob. Dr. Jean Paul Sheila, he is from Switzerland and he is a proto-deacon of Greek Melkite Catholic Church, and he is an authority in iconography. When we are doing MA in Syria, he had taken classes for us. Very authentic, and he is fond of the world of holy pictures, icons. Then I especially thank him because he has just arrived this morning and directly coming to our college. Anyway, he is so tired, we know, but we have arranged it in such a manner, so apologizing to you first. I welcome and we have a nice time here. My dear fathers, Father Porekil is here, Father Jos Mulakar is here, Father Tommy is here, Unnechan is here, Father Sirlachan is here, our sisters are here. So, and I Our fathers from Badavadur Seminary are also there. So, dear fathers and sisters, I welcome you all. Please, dear students, this session make our seminar an international one. You know, the presence of two international figures, Father Jacob and Dr. Jean Paul. So be attentive, take maximum result of their time spent here. Welcoming one and all, I remain.
Our student of honor, Father John Plathanum, dear fathers, dear students, dear brothers, dear sisters, I am very happy to stand in this auditorium and behind the photo of our beloved Kavukat Thirumeni, who was the first teacher of Syriac in this institution. Is it? Anyway, I am very happy to be here, and I am honored to be here and to give some insights into our culture, which is Syriac. I gave the title of my presentation, India is a land of Syriac. It is actually a quotation by our former Indian ambassador in Paris, Mr. Ranjan Mathai, who was also later the first foreign secretary in Delhi. When he inaugurated our book on Syriac inscriptions in Kerala, that was the conclusion which he made. India is a land of Syriac. Very often people think India is a land of Sanskrit, but India is also a land of Syriac, because from 1st century onwards, this language enriched our people and also this land. 3 days back, I got a paper prepared by Professor Isvan Perksel of the Central European University, and also he's a member of research group in Tübingen University. He wrote an article entitled From 1600 to 2001, classical Syriac existed in South India as lingua franca. And when I went through the article, I noticed that most of his assertions were based on the photos which you will be seeing here. Most of these Syriac inscriptions are taken from churches or church-related buildings, and also a lot of influence of Syriac is visible in our culture, in our language. So without much introduction, let us go straight to those pictures, and then you will be convinced that the title is not an exaggeration. So let us start.
மூஞ்சில அப்படி எழுதிருக்கீங்களா? நீங்க ஒரு வாட்டியாவது நாங்க ஏன் இப்படி ஆயிருக்கேன்னு யோசிச்சிருக்கீங்களா? നിങ്ങൾ എപ്പോഴെങ്കിലും നിങ്ങളുടെ ചേട്ടൻ ബാറ്റുകൊണ്ട് അടിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ടോ? നിങ്ങളെ പെണ്ണാക്കി കളിയാക്കിയിട്ടുണ്ടോ? പഠിക്കാൻ പറ്റാനോ ക്ലാസ്സിൽ നിന്ന് ഇറങ്ങി ഓടിയിട്ടുണ്ടോ? எங்களை மாதிரி ஒரு குழந்தை, அந்த குழந்தை உங்க மூஞ்சிய பார்த்துட்டு அப்பதான் நாங்க இந்த தீண்டாமை நிலைமையில் மனிதக நிலைமைக்கு
So this is Malangara Orthodox Syrian Church. They call it Indian Orthodox Church. They have the same tradition until 1974. They were in the same group, but since 74 it is separated, and you know from the papers which are the reasons for such separation. Anyway, this is also one of the strongest Oriental West Syrian Antiochian tradition. Okay, next one. So this is the Malabar Independent Syrian Church. It is the smallest Syrian church. It has only perhaps 15,000 people, but it has actually the genuine Antiochian tradition. They have still the Syriac manuscripts and also the Muron, consecrated by the Patriarch of Antioch, and they go back to 1830 as the year of their origin. Next one. Now we have the Marthoma Syrian Church. Marthoma Syrian Church is also a Syrian church, and they take pride in that, and they do have a few manuscripts, and all their founders were people who knew Syriac very well. And their origin as a separate, more or less Protestant group goes back to 1873. So this is Marthoma Syrian Church. Next one. And here we have the Syro-Malangara Catholic Church, to which I belong, with our Major Archbishop Cardinal Clemis, and also Siri comes under the Bishop of Tiruvalla, Markurilos, who is not far away from here. So this Siri Institute was begun in the Diocese of Tiruvalla, thanks to the encouragement and also commitment of our bishops. St. Thomas Christians of Malabar in love with Syriac. This is a quotation from Kottayam Archbishop Markundasheri when he took part in one of the meetings in Syria inaugurating the World Syriac Conference which we are organizing. He said St. Thomas Christians are in love with Syriac. And as soon as he hears Syriac and the hymn Tuyai and so on, the whole body reacts to it. So that is a quotation from the Archbishop of Kottayam, but who loved Syriac. Now we have also manuscripts. It's not only a vocal tradition. So Kerala Christians and Kerala churches have a lot of manuscripts. So we have, for example, 41 manuscripts, and this the 41st manuscript goes back to 1588. It is actually, it comes from Dairo Damar Sakai, Gargar, Turkey. It was brought by one of the bishops who came to India from Antioch, and it is a prayer book. And the date, the last page on the right-hand side, it is small. It is written very small, but the date is there, and also the place. So it is customary to have a manuscript with colophon, they call it. It is there that they give all the historical details as who the scribe is and for whom and which date it was written. Next one. So you see the East Syriac manuscript, from which all the prayers of the Syro-Malabar Church or the Surai Church was taken. These are immense manuscripts. If you get time to go to Trichur, please go and visit. They have nearly 100 such manuscripts, all handwritten documents brought from Iraq. And the connection between the mother churches, whether in Antioch or in Iraq, the connection expressed itself through Syriac letters. Here we find a letter written in Syriac and sent by the Patriarch Mar Ephraim in 1938 to the church in Tripunithra. So this is one example. Next one. And then the bishops used to sign formally their names in Syriac. So they could sign in Malayalam or English or Latin, but they prefer, the bishops of Syriac churches signed in Syriac. You see the signature of Mar Joseph Pallikaparambil. So those who have some classes in Syriac can try to decipher the signature. Next one. And there are a lot of words in Malayalam which come from Syriac. And also, there is also a language which is called Karshuni. That means you write a language with the letters of another language. You see how Valia is written? If you want to read Valia, you have to know East Syriac pronunciation, Begat Kafet, for example, Va, Be, Bet, representing Va, and Ya, and so on. So the East Syriac pronunciation and also the vocalization were used by several people, and we have a lot of manuscripts in such Karshuni manuscripts. For example, Pinneim Pala, the second line, and Oppugal, and also Kalathil, Nanuti Nalpati Aram Kalathil. So that is all written by our Malpan father, Dr. Thomas Kunemakal. Next one. So this is the Yah, symbol of East Syriac tradition and churches. You find this on several churches. For example, in Trichur and also in Kandanad, you can find this kind of symbol. And the bishops used to print this Yah on their visiting card. Next one. So there are a lot of Malayalam words in Syriac. So Syriac meant enrichment for Malayalam. In all languages there are foreign words. So also in Malayalam we have a lot of words from Syriac. Anida, Almaya, for example, Almaya, Olmo, it comes from Alma, Olmo means world. So worldly, Almaya, or Alaha, or Agarkrasa, or Kara, Kar means place. So only one has to know both Malayalam and Syriac well to find the influence of Syriac or Aramaic language in Malayalam. Next one. We have also, thanks to our Syriac scholars and to their hard work, we have Syriac dictionary in Malayalam. So this Malayalam, I think, I think 1900 or something, again, this was done by Father Kalaparakal, Father Emmanuel. So Diocese of Pale has the glory of having worked for Syriac tradition. It is they who worked on such hard work of producing dictionaries. Next one. And you have one example of Syriac liturgical books, parallel edition. On the right you have Syriac and on the left in Malayalam. So formerly we had only Syriac texts, but from immediately, I think from 1950 onwards, we had such texts. But later on, after Vatican, somehow the liturgical books got printed only in Malayalam. And that meant also a condemnation of the clergy into only Malayalam. Next one. And also the interior decoration of the churches. So from architecture point of view, the Syriac churches brought a style of interior decoration for churches. Here you find an example of the Kadamattam St. George's Church, and this altar, and you find also the dates here. So these are actually a hymn on Syriac, on mercy. Honau tarava mele rahame, valgau mene israhame, ulha toya ba'i rahame, men morio da mele rahame. The words with two dots are Syriac, which can be sung also like in Tuyai. Honau tarava mele rahame, valgau mene israhame, ulha toya ba'i rahame, men morio da mele rahame. So this is east and west, they can participate. And there is also the historical sense of writing down the date of the restoration or the foundation of the church in Syriac. So now you don't find in all these modern churches, it's a small thing, but that shows already the awareness of rooting our tradition and culture in Syriac. So you find that the date when this church was built. So next one. And Tabelita, you see, usually in the Oriental, especially in the churches of Antiochian tradition and formerly also in the East Syriac tradition, the Kurbana was celebrated on this chalice, and pattern was placed here. So here the church's name is there and the bishop's name and the date. So this Tabelita had a Syriac inscription. Next one. Syriac heritage means an enrichment for Malayalam. As I said, we have dictionaries, we have a lot of words in Malayalam, but from Syriac. For example, the beautiful music, Tuyai melody and so on. See, the Syro Malabar Church has actually the best melodies, and all these comes from Syriac. If you don't take care, it will be lost. So we should be aware of the wealth of the Syriac, of the musical tradition, and also the influence of Syriac language. And this here we have Venerable Dr. Kurian Korapiscopa Kaniyamparambal. He wrote Syriac until the age of 99. So those who want to live longer, please learn Syriac. So he published a dictionary. He alone wrote in a poetical form the entire Gospel of St. Matthew, which nobody else in the world has done. So we should be proud of their commitment and of their scholarship. Most of the bishops and priests in the Syrian Orthodox Church were his disciples. Next one. You see, whether it is Aramaic or Syriac, you see, Father Thomas Arethna has written a 2-volume grammar, and it is entitled Aramaic Grammar, but it is Syriac grammar. So 2 volumes. So for the glory of Palai, again from Palai comes this this grammar, and also this one, the later edition. So we have a grammar. So it is not simply without any written tradition. Next one. And we have Syrianic grammar, singable grammar. So you have some examples. There is also Father Emmanuel Tully wrote a grammar, a singable grammar, which is a tradition inherited from the early Syriac grammarians. So we also, and you can sing the entire Syriac grammar in Malayalam. If you want that booklet, you can approach me. So this is East Syriac grammar. Next one. This is the one, Suryani Bhasha Padana Sagraham. This you can sing. And also Kavita Dictionary, you see, that also is published by Korepiscopa Korean, singable Syriac grammars. Next one. So these are some of our publications. You see, I spoke about Gospel of St. Matthew, which can be sung in Kukoyo tune or many other tune, which nobody else has written. And there is also a concise Syriac English dictionary, which we published in the series Moran Etho, Our Lord Came. Next one. Then Syriac epigraphy. So how to write Syriac? It's not only to learn a few words. So our grammarians and also our Syriac people give a lot of attention and energy to copy down Syriac text. Next one. Epigraphy. You see a manuscript written by an Indian scribe. It is called Kashkul. Whatever necessary for a priest is recorded in this book. It was written in Kodamangalam. The next one will show you the date. Next one. Yeah, you see 1583 it was written. It is actually a kashkul, that means a book that contains one anaphora and with the ritual of baptism, burial, and so on. So whatever is necessary for the priest was written down. Next one. And this is an example of a Kurbana Taksa of the Syrian Orthodox Church, Tripunithara. I found this. So each priest has had to copy down the anaphora which he wanted or the rituals which he wanted. So like that you find, for example, in Mananam, a lot of manuscripts which were copied down by priest candidates or seminarians for their liturgical pastoral life. So that was actually, this is one of the examples. You see one priest who had taken care of his Kurbana Taksa with decoration and so on. Next one. Then there are Syriac inscriptions in Kerala, because the Kerala Christians used to record their historical details, valuable details, not in Latin, not in English, but in Syriac. The foundation date, if you go to today's modern churches, you may not find even the date. So they had a historical consciousness which they expressed in Syriac, as we will see. You see, Syriac, this is the famous Persian cross in Valiyapalli, and according to their tradition, it could go back to 9th century. Because here there is no date, and this is a copy of the Persian cross from Madras. So here is Syriac. If I glory in the cross of Christ. So that is a quotation from Saint Paul. Next one. So here is another, but it is a modern inscription written by our Thomas Kathanar, Kunamakal, Marwala, Enana Uraha, from Ayamkudi. If you go there, you can find that. Next one. So these, for example, the Surai church, they had a better continuous tradition to give such inscriptions. This is supposed to be a baptismal font for adult people. So they used to fill the water, and the adult man used to go down, and then they used to pour water. So this is from 54. If you go to Trichu, you can see that in Syria. And this is supposed to be the oldest inscription. See, here you have Bashinat, Olaf, base in East Syria. You go to old church, old cathedral in Pala, you will see that. Unfortunately, the rest we cannot see because the modern altar is built on the eastern wall, so we cannot read that. Anyway, if it is established, that will be the oldest dated church building which we have. Next one. So here, Mulanduruthi Church, Bashinath Alep Hamsho. So in the year, then AD 1575, this Anavadal, this main door was restored, and East Syriac inscription. This is a West Syrian church, but East Syriac tradition. So you see, that was the earlier tradition. Okay, next one. So here you find in Cantonade, Beth Joachim. So Joachim Marcurilos, he was one of the restorator of Syriac tradition. Since his arrival in the 19th century, most of the churches in Muatupura, Kotamangalam area has such historical details which one can read and understand in classical Syriac. If we were to write in Malayalam, perhaps our new generation may not understand. But here in classical Syriac, he has recorded the name and the patriarch and so on. Next one. So there's a Kotamangalam, Kestroma. There you find actually the inscription, memorial of Eldomar Baselios by Joachim Marcurilos. Next one. So here in East Syriac tradition, it says 1920, but always in East Syriac tradition. Next one. So here you have the memorial of Eldoma Baselios. It is a singable text. The whole biography of Eldoma Baselios in Kotamangalam Church. He hails from Iraq, and there are many people, even today, Syrian Christians, Syrian Orthodox Christians, who are proud of coming to this tomb. And there are many people who visit this. Next one. So here that you have the logo of the CMI fathers. So sometimes the CMI fathers find it difficult to read, but all the same we explain to them that it comes from 1910, 14. It is found in Pummattam and also in some other churches. Next one. So Cantonade St. Mary's Church, again on the surface, on the facade, you will find this quotation. Next one. So this is Tripunitra Church. It has also some Syriac inscriptions. For example, on the tombs, they have 4 or 5 tombs where the important details of the priests who are buried are recorded in Syriac. So here, this is the unique object which we have. No other country has this kind of Syriac bell. And you see the date, 1584. And it is found in Kuravalingad Church. If you go to Kuravalingad, please go and see the museum and try to translate that. We have translated all these inscriptions and published, unfortunately, in French. Those who know French, they can come and consult that. But we can translate that into English or Malayalam. Okay, next one. So sometimes the Trachur East Syrian Church, they show their affiliation to their mother tongue and mother language by having Syriac quotations in their church. So next one, you see that again. So this is Kandanad altar inscription, biblical verses. Next one. Another inscription there from Hebrew. Then Kotamangalam an altar inscription. Here is when it was written, the name of the bishop, and Ito, Kadishto, then all East Syriac, it was, in Estrangula it was written. Next one. You can find that. So there, the date of the church that was built, and also the quotation, the hymn on mercy, you can find there. Next one. So this we saw it already. Then Pallikara Church. So you see the influence of East Syriac. If you go to Kudamalur, you can also see that. Shalom Lake Mariam, Maliastai Butho. So here. So Pallikara is actually a Syrian Orthodox church now, but it was formerly a church belonging to the entire community. Then the British, they took arbitrarily a decision. So this church for the Catholics, this church for the Orthodox. So like that, you can see. But this church had all these East Syriac inscriptions and also the interior decorations. Next one. So Mananam. Who can read this? This is Syriac. Is there anybody who can read that? This is the influence of Malayalam on Syriac. I can give you a clue. That monastery, founded in 1831, is a St. Joseph monastery. Sale Lavos Ausep. Sale, imperative, Lavot, then Ausep. So Aleph, Vav, Samukas. So you see the influence of Malayalam on Syriac characters. Next one. So this is in Vallikad Dera, the famous hymn on mercy. Then Bno was Shakal and so on, built and consecrated in Syriac. Next one. So this is another one, Pukudoni, 10 Commandments in Syriac. Kudamalu, you see, if you go there, you can see that. Kadishto, Martha Mariam, and so on. And Kaduturti, you see the Swayamvara Pidam, so there is a Syriac inscription, Matbaho. Next one. So some crosses. So if you can see Ho, He, Behold, Jesus, Yud, then Nazarenus, Nun, Mim, Malko, the Yudoi. So INRI written with the Syriac letters. It is found in Kottayam Valiyapalli. And in Koratti, Koratti Muthu's church, if you go there, you can also find these inscriptions which are related to the cross. Next one. So here, Pallikara, there is also, and also Mujikulam, there are Syriac quotations on the cross. Next one. So here is a unique chair of the patriarch, Intrapunitra. So Honau, Cursio, the Ito, Kadishito, the Yaldasalo of St. Mary's, Intrapunitra. So this is the only throne which we have. It is an imitation of the throne which is found in Turkey, in Midyat. So here, the cornerstone of the CMI, which was actually, it is now, formerly it was under the earth somewhere, now they have put it on the wall. So 1831, the whole words is not there. Horko, only 2 words. Mestasimas was placed, Kipo, stone, the Sovito, cornerstone, and then the year, 1, 8, 3, 1, and then the month, May 11. Next one. So this is Father Kunamakal, one of the supporters and promoters of Syriac. And if you go to Ernakulam Archbishop's house, that's the only Archbishop's house where you find the date of the building of the bishop's house in Syriac and Malayalam. Next one, in East Syriac, you can see that. So 1897, 1897, you have the Syriac here and Malayalam. Okay, next one. Then Kuravalingad, tomb inscriptions you can find in 3 languages, English, Syriac, Malayalam. Next one. Tomb of monk Givargis Mukanchel, 1898. All these it's found in Tripunithara. Then, Kantanad. Kantanad Church has also 4 tombs like this. Next one. Then the press. So we had taken the trouble of letter press, and this was in our press. They wanted to throw it away, but I kept it. And also in Mandanam, they have melted it and did something else, but we are still keeping it. So we used to have presses here. So that also shows how great our commitment for promoting Syriac was there. Okay. So these are Syriac music, for example, the musical tradition. If the Syro-Malabar Church or Malangara Church forgets their musical tradition, that will be an impoverishment. So now most of the even Malayalam tunes, best melodies are inspired by Syriac music. Syriac music is one of the first musics in the whole world. So Father Vaishnath and also Father M.P. George has tried, and also Father Habel has tried for the East Syriac tradition. So musical tradition is an enrichment which should be promoted. Next one. So this is Father Thomas Kunamakal, who established the monastery, Beth Prem Nasrani Daira, about 15 years back. Unfortunately, Father is sick. Father has Parkinson, but there is Father Adapasheri who continues the mission. Next one. So this is the St. Ephraim Ecumenical Research Institute, the only center which has about 80% of the published literature on Syriac tradition. And that is why there is collaboration between SIRI and the Mahatma Gandhi University to offer a master's degree and even PhD. So you are most welcome to SIRI to study Syriac at any time. So that is our building, part of the building. It's an old picture. So most welcome. This is our library. So there are also modern books like concordance of each and every Syriac word. You get that. So those who want to learn Syriac seriously, please come without any reservation. You are there. Anybody can come. We had sometimes Muslims coming to Syriac. And another thing which you should be aware, if you learn Syriac, 40% of the, even 50% of the Arabic will be understood by you. There are scholars who have written, for example, Syro-Aramaic roots of Quran. So only people, if people know seriously both Arabic and Syriac grammar, then only even Muslims can explain There are 1,000 cases which are still doubtful, and the translations are a quarrelsome business. That's why there are a lot of quarrels within Islam, because they do not know the source language. So this grammar, so Syro-Aramaic roots of Quran was written by a Lebanese Christian who knows both Syriac and Arabic. So one can contribute even to the growth and a correct understanding of Islam if one knows Syriac. And slowly the Muslims have known the importance of Syriac. Some of their universities started offering Syriac too. Next one. So this is our chapel. You can see we also have some Syriac quotations which were written by one of the Syrian Orthodox priests, Father Suleiman Aydin, who visited Syria about 15 years back. He died very recently. So that's a copy of the Syriac inscriptions of his church in Antioch. So Taudi Sagi, thank you very much, and I give the rest of the time to Dr. John Paul, Proto-Deacon Deschler. And I hope that some of you will come to learn seriously Syriac to Syria. Most welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. The same scene in ivory. Next. You have seen that with the words of Father Jacob. Next. Here, one of the manuscripts with the scene of baptism of Jesus in the Jordan. It is often maintained that the Syriac Church knows no icon. Yet this judgment does not fully consider the origins and history of the Church. We must keep in mind that the Church of Palestine, Syriac Church, like the Byzantine Church, has its spiritual and theological roots in Antioch. Both churches grew up in the same cultural milieu of the Eastern Mediterranean and the ancient Orient. Pictorial thinking and practice played a critical role in the formation of these cultures. Next. This is a fresco. You see the scene, Jesus with a Samaritan woman at Jacob's well. Maybe you see the name above, between the two, that's in Ethiopian Ge'ez script, Jesus. Next. The most famous manuscript is this one, nowadays in Florence. So from 6th century, Rabula Gospel. Next. This is one big icon, a Russian icon in Russia. It represents the repenting thief, the robber. In inscription here means the good robber. Next. To the theology of icons. The icon is, for Orthodox people, is a holy object worth honorific veneration, like the cross and the gospel. The fundamental purpose of Christian iconography is the transmission of the faith. The meaning of an icon must be as clear as the corresponding wording of its source, that is, in accordance with the tradition of the Church, which includes dogmatic proclamations of the liturgical hymns, scriptures, and apocryphs, theological treatises and declarations of the councils, along with hagiographic and devotional writings. Next. This complicated representation, a Russian icon, which is inscribed in Old Slavonic. It means the so-called burning bush, which is not consumed, and it means the Mother of God, the Virgin Mother, who had in her womb God without being burned from the divinity. Next. This scene, three persons, the middle Christ, and the other ones. Are you able to read? Cleopas, Cleopa, and Luke, the disciples of Emmaus. Next. Another representation from Ethiopia. Inscriptions are very important in iconography. In order to be clear and understandable, inscriptions, names, titles, and so on, legends, are able to give better information. Next. Annunciation to Zechariah. Next. Very complicated and so-called mystical icon, the cross. It is called the fruits of the passion. Fruits of passion, all the good the influence of Christ's death at the cross, salvation, and there are even poetical texts on this icon, and many details. For instance, at left below you see three persons that are the three evangelists. Next. The icon, or once more, icon of nativity with ox and ass, the donkey, near the crib. And all these persons from biblical texts or apocryphal texts, and also around on the frame there is a hymn, the famous hymn of Romanos Melodos, who was a Syriac, who came from Palestine to Constantinople, and is the great poet, a deacon, great theologian as Mar Aprem. Next. The flight to Egypt. Next. Also, in the lower part, flight to Egypt, an icon of Ethiopia. This is the famous fresco in the Syriac monastery in Egypt, with much text, Teshbol, Aloho, and so on. Next. All Saints icon, a Greek Byzantine representation, which could be also for Syriac and also for Indian recovering of the icon. How to recover a Syriac iconography here in India? I will give just 2 goes and 2 no-goes for this purpose. The first go is, next please. We should preserve proven features. The ancient Syrian iconography is an excellent guide. You remember Rabula's Gospel and many medieval manuscripts could serve as the basic means for studies that will help to bring back the lost Syriac iconography and to establish an Indian sacred art that is able to give an idea about the divine world. Eastern icon painters avoid individualism and subjectivism, as do Renaissance and Baroque iconographers and artist painters. Next. This is one of the good examples of Father George Kurisumotil. Next. This is the scene you know very well. It is omnipresent in India and in the whole world. This is a typically Renaissance feature. You see a room in central perspective, which is the yes, it was the pleasure of Renaissance painters to give nature and human beings in a natural pose. And there are sometimes aberrations, as this one. You see a nice girl with a nice baby, and that is nativity. That is not the meaning of Christ's nativity. But in India, because of the Portuguese colonialization, padroado, these kinds of pictures had a big invasion in India. We should, that's a no-go, this naturalism. It is not described, but you may think that could be Mary Magdalene repenting her sins. These painters didn't write the names. They wanted only the nature. Next. This is one of the trials. Indian icon. It is, if you read in the halo of the saint, that's my God. So it must be Thomas. And on his scroll, I don't know Malayalam, but I was told that it is written, I am the way, the truth, the way, and yes. So Thomas, here also, Thomas, the patron saint of India, is teaching his people. No, it's yes, Paulos. Mar Paulos. Yeah. Next, and here too, Paulos, Shlicha, the same painter as here, Father George Kurisumutil, and you have seen this cross from Syri sanctuary with the emblem of Syri. And here in Tiruvalla, the St. Thomas, Mor Valo, my Lord, and yes, and here is the painter, Father George Kurisumutil. The painter or the artist of these stained glass windows is a monk from Lebanon, Father Abdo Badwi, who will here come next week to Syria, where he has also. These windows are in the cathedral of Muwatupuja. Basilios and Gregory. Next. Next. Aha. Yes, there would be supplementary icons. I have many hundreds of them, but time is over. For the renewal, as a last thought, I would say there is no doubt, at least among experts on this problem, that the St. Thomas Church of India needs a renewal of the traditional iconography in order to abolish the Latinization of former times. The admonition repeatedly expressed by Pope John Paul II has to be understood as aiming not only at the ritual Latinization, but also at the pictorial Latinization, which is opposed to the spirituality of the Oriental churches. The main questions and difficulties are worth mentioning here, and some pictures should be helpful for the recovery of that lost orientation. Images of saints should not be, for instance, not be dispersed arbitrarily on the walls of a church, but arranged according to a plan based on theological and liturgical considerations. Since the papal exhortations are rather late, after 500 years of colonialization, the wanted reintroduction and re-establishment of the genuine sacramental practices of the St. Thomas Church will be a difficult matter. The rediscovery of the ancient iconography will make an important contribution to the intended restoration, a regeneration, a real ecclesiastical renaissance, and a new orientation from Orient. Thank you.